Welcome to my little corner of the internet, where we celebrate creativity and growth. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Frank Falls Crow. We hope you find it enlightening. Frank Falls Crow c. 1890–1989 was an Oglala Lakota civic and religious leader. Grandfather, or Grandpa Frank as he was often called, was a nephew of Black Elk who worked to preserve Lakota traditions, including the sun dance and yuwipi ceremonies. He supported Lakota sovereignty and treaty rights, and was a leader of the traditional faction during the armed standoff at Wounded Knee in 1973. With writer Thomas East Males, he produced 2 books about his life and work, Falls Crow in 1979 and Falls Crow, Wisdom and Power in 1990. The spotlight now falls on early life as we delve deeper into its details. Falls Crow was born near Porcupine Creek on Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota on either June 24 or 27 between 1890 and 1892. His father, Falls Crow, who was also called Eagle Bear, was the Porcupine district leader. His mother was Spoon Hunter, who died 4 days after giving birth to him. She was the daughter of Porcupine Tail, for whom the community was named. His paternal grandfather, Knife Chief, fought with warriors who defeated Custer at the Battle of Little Bighorn, and his great-grandfather, Holes the Eagle, was a medicine man and holy man, or Waiwok. Raised in the traditional way by his father, aunt, and stepmother Emily Big Road, he did not attend the white man's school as his father did not approve. This is why he did not speak fluent English. As a young man he traveled around the United States with the Buffalo Bill Cody's Buffalo Bill's Wild West show. He spent much of his life serving his people as a medicine man, healer, and teacher. Brace yourselves for the next chapter, where we'll be dissecting Go to Wounded Knee. In response to recent excesses of government corruption, on February 28, 1973, members of the American Indian Movement, with their allies and supporters, including Falls Crow, seized and occupied the village of Wounded Knee. It was here, in 1890, that the followers of Spotted Elk, another, earlier traditional leader, had been massacred by the United States Army's 7th Cavalry Regiment. 2 weeks before that, Sitting Bull himself had been killed by police acting at the behest of these new rulers. Thus had begun the relentless suppression of the Lakota Nation, their institutions, the religion, and even the language. Each decade since that time of great melancholy, when hopes for sovereignty had died in bloody snow, brought renewed demands for more Lakota land, always in violation of treaty agreements. Dick Wilson had become chairman of the Pine Ridge Reservation in 1972. A heavy-drinking bootlegger known for corruption, he favored giving up more Lakota land, even the POSPA itself. He soon used federal government funds to create his own private vigilante goon squad with which to terrorize his adversaries. Those who opposed Wilson and his regime formed the Oglala Sioux Civil Rights Organization, led by Pedro Bissonette, and worked to impeach him. One petition to impeach Wilson contained more signatures than the number of people who had originally voted for him. Wilson postponed impeachment hearings which were scheduled for February 14. Immediately thereafter, federal forces moved into the area, including a counterinsurgency special operations group, which set up and manned sandbagged machine gun positions at the BIA building. On February 23, thus reinforced and without a proper tribal council quorum, Wilson was exonerated and quickly banned all public meetings and demonstrations on the reservation. On the evening leading up to the occupation, the leaders of AIM met with the traditional Oglala elders and leaders to discuss what to do next. As senior elder, Falls Crow spoke to the young leaders in his native Lakota language. He never spoke English in public and said to them, "Go ahead and do it. Go to Wounded Knee. You can't get in the BIA office and the tribal office, so take your brothers from the American Indian Movement and go to Wounded Knee and make your stand there." On the list of demands presented to the Justice Department, Falls Crow was listed along with other chiefs and medicine men as supporters of the movement. After the occupiers declared themselves to be the independent Oglala Nation, Falls Crow traveled with Matthew King, his interpreter, and Russell Means to the United Nations to make a speech. Though no official transcript of this speech remains, there is no doubt to its significance. The occupation lasted for 71 days, until an agreement was reached between federal officials and the Lakota delegation, which included Falls Crow. Hank Adams, the personal representative of the president, arrived with an agreement to the proposal that the chiefs had sent to the White House on May 3. Adams met Falls Crow and 100 others near a fence around the property. Adams handed a letter through a barbed wire fence to Falls Crow, who was wearing the traditional attire of buckskin and a headdress. The letter appealed for the occupation of the village to come to an end. Falls Crow and the other leaders accepted the proposal, which stated that the White House would send representatives to Pine Ridge to discuss a treaty in the third week of May and would get tough on Dick Wilson, the unscrupulous chairman of the reservation. Falls Crow and the other chiefs delivered the letter to the AIM leaders and told them that he believed that it was time to end it. After the murder of Frank Clearwater at Wounded Knee, and because the U.S. government would not allow his body to be buried there, his wife agreed to bury him on Leonard Crow Dog's property on the Rosebud Indian Reservation, and had the wake at Falls Crow's house, where the body was placed in a tipi and covered with a blanket for mourners to come to pay their respect. In an article in the New York Times on May 8, 1973, the negotiations were said to have taken place at Falls Crow's house around the third week of May. In an interview, Dick Wilson said, "My people know that Falls Crow is a zero," plainly showing that he had no respect for the traditions that Falls Crow stood for. In Washington, D.C., on May 17, the Oglalas had their promised White House meeting, and Falls Crow was present. Of the 5 promised White House aides, 2 were there. Falls Crow was told that the historic treaties were dead. Falls Crow spoke at a congressional hearing on June 16 and 17, 1973, following the conclusion of the Wounded Knee occupation. He only spoke Lakota, as was his way, and used an interpreter, Matthew King, to translate for him. He gave his reasons for the occupation, the main reason being the removal of Dick Wilson. Senator George McGovern said that he would try to remove Wilson, but was not sure if he had the power to do so. Falls Crow asserted that McGovern had promised earlier to remove Dick Wilson, yet the violence continued. Now, let's delve into the intricacies of prayer before the United States Senate and explore its various aspects. In August 1975, 30 activists, including Falls Crow, traveled to Washington, D.C., to discuss the 1868 Treaty, sovereignty, and the continuing violence and civil rights violations. On September 5, Grandfather Falls Crow gave the opening prayer for the United States Senate. This is believed to be an accurate translation of his words. During the same morning as this prayer, the FBI staged a massive paramilitary raid on the property of Leonard Crow Dog. Let's now turn our attention to We Shall Never Sell Our Sacred Black Hills, and examine its role within a larger context. On September 10, 1976, Falls Crow delivered a lengthy speech to the Congressional Subcommittee on Interior and Insular Affairs. The speech, entitled The Joint Statement of Chief Frank Falls Crow and Frank Kills Enemy on behalf of the Traditional Lakota Treaty Council before Honorable Lloyd Mead's Subcommittee on Interior and Insular Affairs, was a plea for the return of the Black Hills to his people. Later, the speech was printed up in poster form and widely disseminated over the reservations. The full speech can be read here. With our foundation established, it's time to explore family and death and its relevance to our overarching theme. His first wife, Fanny Afraid of Hawk, died in 1954. His second wife, Kate, died in October 1988. Falls Crow died on November 27, 1989, near Kyle, South Dakota. He is believed to have been 99 years old. Let's now turn our attention to film, cassette, and books and uncover the fascinating insights it brings to the table. Screenwriter John Fusca was an adopted Hunker relative of Fool's Crow and based the character Grandpa Sam Reaches on his film Thunderhead. In 1990, Fusca brought actor Robert De Niro to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation to meet Fool's Crow. Fool's Crow traded gifts with De Niro in the traditional Lakota manner. Native Spirit and the Sundance Way DVD documentary, 2007, World Wisdom audio cassette, Fool's Crow Holy Man, January 21, 2000. Original release date, May 1, 1993. Label, Everin Books with Thomas East. Males, Fool's Crow, University of Nebraska Press, 1979, 1990. Fool's Crow, Wisdom and Power, Council Oak Books, 1990, 2002. Suzanne Dupree, Frank. Fool's Crow Knowledge and Truth Gift from the Ancestors, 2nd edition, Creative Publishing, 2014. I'm here to provide you with the best information, so let me know what else you'd like to learn about.